The feather in the window. Once upon a time, deep in the heart of London, there lived a woman who had recently lost her mother. She was heartbroken. Every night she would look up at the window of her bedroom and ask, "Lord, are you even here? Do you really see me? Do you really hear me?" She cried out to God, but he seemed silent. And so she continued to question, "Why did you take my mom away? Why did you let her get sick? Why did you let her die? Are you even there?" She would cry herself to sleep every single night. Then one day, when she awoke, much to her surprise, there was something on her windowsill, and it was a white feather. Now, her mother had always told her that white feathers were from angels. So she looked around the room to see if there was a bird that had flown in, maybe a white dove that had flown in through the window and left its feather behind. But she could not find a bird anywhere. In fact, she had not seen a bird in weeks, for it was winter and all the birds had flown south for the warm weather. She walked over to the window and touched the feather. It was soft and white, just like all the other feathers that her mother used to bring home. She remembered how happy her mother had been whenever she found a white feather. She would dance around the house and say, "Oh, my angel has come to visit me. Oh, I'm so happy. I knew you would come." Her mother had even made a rule that whenever they found a white feather, they would write down their request on a piece of paper, put it inside the feather, tie it up with a red ribbon, and place it under their pillow. And in the morning, they would wake up with an answer to their prayer. That was what her mother had told her. So now, holding this white feather in her hand, the woman thought, should I do the same thing? Should I write down my request on a piece of paper, put it inside the feather, and place it under my pillow? Will God give me an answer in the morning? She placed the feather under her pillow, but she didn't fall back asleep. She tossed and turned the entire night, wondering what the morning would bring. When the sun finally rose, she got out of bed and went to the window. She opened up the curtains and looked out. Then she turned back to the bed and reached under her pillow to retrieve the feather. As she pulled it out, she saw a piece of paper. Quickly, she unfolded the paper and began to read. These were the words that she had written down the night before. "Dear God, why did you take my mom away? Why did you let her get sick? Why did you let her die? Are you even there?" she had written. And then scrunched up in the corner, she saw these 3 words written in beautiful, flowing handwriting. "Yes, I am here." Just reading those words brought tears to her eyes. She could not believe that God had answered her prayer. He had spoken to her through a feather. You were meant to hear this today. There's more where that came from. Subscribe for weekly encouragement. I am going to read you a story about an incredible woman who is grieving the loss of her husband. And she cried out to the Lord, "Are you there? Are you really there?" Then something happened the very next morning that literally took her breath away. One morning, Martha woke up feeling sad. She looked over at the empty space beside her in bed where her husband had slept for 23 years. Tears welled up in her eyes as she thought about how he would have been 68 years old today. Her husband, John, had been the love of her life. They had 2 wonderful children and 4 beautiful grandchildren. But sadly, John had passed away 5 months ago. Martha got out of bed and went to the kitchen. As she stood by the window, she noticed a white feather on the windowsill. It was an unusually large feather, and it must have come from a bird that had flown past the open window during the night. Martha picked up the feather and looked at it closely. She had always loved birds, and especially white feathers, because as a little girl, her mother had told her that they were messages from angels. Martha smiled because her mother had passed away 10 years ago, and she often felt the presence of angels when she saw white feathers. That day, Martha felt an overwhelming sense of peace come over her. As she continued to look out the window, she noticed a flock of wild turkeys strutting around her yard. Martha smiled again. Turkeys were John's favorite bird, and he had often jokingly threatened to get a pet turkey. Martha chuckled as she remembered all of their fun times together. She missed him terribly, but somehow today felt different. Today, she didn't feel as much pain. As the days went by, Martha began to feel like her sadness was lifting. She still missed her darling husband every day, but she knew that he was in a better place and that he was watching over her and their family. One evening, Martha was reading her Bible when she came across the following verse. Are you worried about anything? Ask God, who is generous beyond measure, and he will give it to you. Resist the devil, and he will flee. Make no mistake, the enemy will try to attack you when you are grieving. He will send thoughts of worry, fear, and discouragement your way. But remember, you are stronger than he is. And if you put your trust in the Lord, he will help you through difficult times. You see, Martha had asked God to help her, and he had answered her in his own way. Sometimes God answers our prayers immediately. Other times, he takes a little longer. But in Martha's case, he waited until exactly the right moment to give her comfort. If you are going through a hard time right now, please know that God cares about you. He sees your pain, and he wants to help you. Just cry out to him, and he will answer. Maybe your answer won't come in the form of a white feather, but it will be something that brings you peace and comfort. Thank you for watching this video. If you've been blessed by our stories, subscribe so you can hear more. Each week you'll receive an email with a link to a new video. We can't wait to see you next time. Do you believe in angels? Let us know in the comments. One of the ways we know that God is near is by the Holy Spirit within us. And one of the ways we know that angels are near is by the signs that they leave behind. These signs usually take the form of feathers, coins, or other items that we find at just the right moment. When we see these signs, they remind us that we are not alone. God and his angels are with us, and they want us to know that they care about us. Have you ever received a sign from God or one of his angels? Let us know in the comments.